Ms. Whistle. Morning, Captain.
Morning, sir.
Do me a favor, stand here, face the judge, raise your right hand.
Do you swear affirm to tell the whole truth?
I do.
Right, you may have a seat, sir. You may proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you state and spell your name for the record?
Samuel Draper, SAMUEL,
And where are you employed?
Collierville Police Department,
And what's your position?
captain of the uniform patrol.
How long have you been in that position?
Coming up on a year,
Okay. And how long have you been with the Collierville Police Department?
approximately 13 years.
Okay. So I'm going to take you back to April 4th, 2019. Do you recall responding to an apartment complex that day?
Yes, ma'am. On that day, I believe it was roughly around 22, 26, responded to a weapons complaint of shots fired at 1681 South Elstone Place East. Myself and a couple other CPD officers and SB pulled up on scene, pulled up to the entrance point of the Meridian Apartments, and the gate was already opened by, I believe, another occupant of the complex. He was saying, hey, the shots are coming up from this apartment complex. Me and one of my partners, Officer McLean, we rounded about apartment complex, I believe it was 204 to 205 of Building 8. And then when we were coming up the stairwell, one of the tenants from the apartment complex said that the shots were coming from the top right apartment. So myself and Officer McLean went up the stairwell, made a right, observed a male subject down on the ground in the front entryway of the apartment in a pool of blood. Saw a female victim sitting or braced against the wall to the male victim, and then I observed the suspect. A little ways behind him, there was an island, kitchen island in that apartment complex, and she was standing to the right of that armed with a weapon.
Okay. And at any time did she put down the weapon once you arrived?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Could you tell us what happened with that?
So, once we got there, I observed her with a weapon, myself and the on-scene officers were trying to communicate with her to put down the weapon. I don't recall how long or how much time elapsed, but after some time, we requested a less lethal beanbag gun to be called up, and that's when Officer Jenkins deployed that, and she immediately fell to the ground. And that's when we went into the apartment complex, secured it, and secured a weapon.
Could you describe to the jury what exactly is a less lethal firearm?
A less lethal weapon system is typically it's a 12-gauge shotgun that's been converted to a less lethal means. It's deployed by a super sock, which is a small, approximately 4 inches Kevlar type of cloth. That's inside that Kevlar cloth is number 8 lead pellets, and it's a means for us to deploy it during violent situations. It can still be lethal, but it's a less lethal means to try to incapacitate the subject in order to get them under custody.
And I don't recall if you stated before, but which officer employed the less lethal?
That was Officer Kelly Jenkins.
Okay. And you stated that you saw the suspect hit the ground?
Correct.
Okay. Do you see that same suspect in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am. She's right sitting up in front of me.
Could you describe what she's wearing?
White jacket, blue shirt, glasses.
Your Honor, if we could have the record reflect that Captain Draper has identified the defendant.
Let the record reflect the defendant has been identified.
Okay. And if you recall, how many times was the suspect hit with the less lethal?
One time.
Okay. And after she was hit, do you recall who secured the scene or who cleared the weapon?
I believe that was Officer McLean, because myself and the other officers, we didn't know who else was in the apartment, and we went to the left, and that's when Officer McLean secured the weapon, and I believe put it on the island, if I recall correctly.
And do you recall any other weapons being recovered from the scene?
No, ma'am.
Okay. so neither of the two people that were on the ground had weapons?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you do anything else pertaining to this investigation?
No, ma'am.
And this apartment complex that you responded to, you said it was on Elkstone Place?
Yes, and Meridian Apartments off of Shea Road.
Okay, is that in Shelby County?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Captain Draper.
Good morning.
I just have a couple of questions for you, okay? On April the 4th, you responded to a shots fired call, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had information that there were 2 people down.
What I recall, there was just shots fired and they were screaming.
Okay. How many officers arrived at the scene?
Initially, I want to say it was myself, Officer Dunlap, and Officer McLean, but there was additional officers that showed up shortly after.
Do you recall how many officers total responded?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall how long you were there prior to the firing of the less lethal?
No, ma'am.
Now, when you arrived on the scene, you had your sidearm,
I had my rifle.
okay? I thought you had both.
Well, yes, but I had my rifle in conjunction to my sidearm.
So you had, it's a Glock that you carry,
Yes, ma'am.
and a Bushmaster rifle.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you went up the stairs, you had your Bushmaster rifle
Yes, ma'am.
in your hands.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you went up to where that apartment is, when you came to the doorway where you could see in, and you saw that Miss Daniels was standing there with a weapon, you raised your gun, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you had a person inside with a weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you are trained in dealing with that kind of situation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all get training in what's called the use of force continuum.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And that goes from no force at all to deadly force.
Yes, ma'am.
And less lethal is below the deadly force.
Yes, ma'am.
Less lethal can include the super sock that you were talking about, or the rubber pellets, things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
But the deadly force would involve typically your sidearm.
In that case there, it was, typically less lethals are used for, it's another tool for us to address the situation. And for us, even though deadly force would have been authorized in that circumstance, we decided to try to use another means to resolve the situation peacefully and the best we could.
Absolutely. And y'all are trained to go as far down on the continuum as you can, right?
Depending on the situation, yes, ma'am.
You don't want to jump to the most extreme if you don't have to.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you encountered Miss Daniels, did you see her? Did you see her?
Yes, ma'am.
You had a good visual. Do you remember how far apart you were?
I can't recall the exact footage, but it was a ways distance. I was at the top of the stairwell. You had the apartment with both parties in the entranceway to the apartment, and then she was a little further back, closer in the interior portion of the apartment.
When you were speaking with her, were you still back at the stairwell, or were you closer up to the apartment?
Still back where I was.
Okay, you could see her in the
Correct.
apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you did talk to her.
Attempted to. I did not get a response.
She was very visibly upset.
I did not see any emotion from what I recall. She would
Was
not
she-
communicate back to me.
Okay, so you were talking to her and she did not talk back to you at all?
Correct. We were telling her to put down the firearm, something to that extent, but we weren't getting a response from that.
Were you seeing her at that point behaving in a threatening way to the 2 people on the ground?
Our priority at that point was to try to detain and secure the situation because we had injured parties.
Right, but my question was, did you see her at that point in time threatening the 2 people on the ground?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see her at any point, and this obviously is going to depend on where you were standing.
Mhm.
Did you see her at any point putting the gun to her own head, to her own chest, and to her own mouth?
If I recall correctly, at some point, in our attempts to communicate with her, she did point the firearm towards herself, but I don't recall exactly what, if it was the head or the chest area.
Okay. And during that whole period of time, you're trying to talk to her and she's not even
There's no
responding?
response. At one point, I do recall talking with Miss Perry, asking her what the name of the subject was to try to convince her to put down the firearm, but it did not work.
So at some point, y'all determined the best course of action was to utilize that less lethal.
Yes, ma'am.
And once you did that, she was taken into custody?
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And paramedics then came to take care of Tabitha and Brodes.
Yes, ma'am.
At any point, did Latasha point the gun at any of the officers?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see her point the gun at Tabitha or Brodes again?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall the initial attempt to deploy the less lethal not being successful? That the first gun jammed?
I do believe that there was a malfunction with the first one, and that's when we had to call it for a second one.
Somebody had to run down to their car, come back up and...
Somebody,
get-
I don't recall exactly who it was, but, because me and the other officers there had this, we stayed where we were because we don't want to lose sight.
And somebody brought up the less lethal, gave it to Jenkins, and Jenkins is the one who deployed the less lethal.
Correct.
That's all I have. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll read our Your Honor.
Right, you may step down, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You may call your next witness.
State calls Officer McLean.